So the Japanese GP's qualifying just got done, so let's get straight into it. At a start at the beginning, Q1, we thought we'll have the usual suspects. The three bottommost teams, we thought we'll have them at the bottom six. We had the Astons, yes. We had Cadillac, yes. But we also had a surprise exit in Q1, and that was none other than our own teddy bear, who is Ollie Bearman. So what happened to Ollie? Basically, he messed up turn 9, 10 and 11. So this is that hairpin looking portion of the track. So right after the section, you get pretty much the fastest portions of the track. So when you have a mistake in these corners and you exit with the mistake, yes, that mistake continues and you will lose time through the long straight, and that's exactly what happened to Ollie. So if Ollie goes out of Q1, then who is this culprit who snuck into Q2? That would be Carlos Sainz of Williams. Both Albon and Sainz have been struggling with this overweight Williams. But one particular thing kind of like got my attention, which is the radio conversation between Albon and his engineer. Albon asks the engineer, where am I slow compared to Sainz? And the engineer says, don't ask, you know the answer. And Albon kind of loses it. He's like, I've been complaining about the car setup all 3 weeks over the last 3 races, and no one has been paying attention to it. So he was frustrated. That got me really curious. I wanted to know where Albon lost time, especially in comparison with Sainz. So I looked up the telemetry. See, Albon actually had a great sector 1, but just like Ollie Bearman, his sector 2, especially turn 9, 10, 11, he had a mess up. And it's very difficult to catch up after making that mistake. That particular turn seemed to have caught everyone off guard, and if you make a mistake there, it looks like it gets really difficult to catch up after that. So Albon also had the same mistake. In fact, Albon, in comparison to Sainz, lost 0.6 seconds in just that one corner. So that wraps up our Q1, and let's move on to Q2. And the biggest talking point about Q2 is Max Verstappen's exit. I do want to remind you something, which is Red Bull had the biggest upgrade package for this weekend. They had a new floor, they had new side pods, they had a new engine cover, they had a new spoiler. It is so bizarre, they looked even worse than China. Everyone says that Red Bull's car isn't good and that's why Max is struggling. Nobody is questioning Max's talent, but when you say Red Bull's car isn't good, what exactly is the problem? From what Max has been commenting and the information that we have across the paddock with multiple interviews and even Red Bull's own engineers saying this, we know that the problem isn't the power unit. Maybe the power unit has some reliability issues, but the output isn't the problem. The problem has always been with the car setup. Max has constantly been complaining about the setup, that he's not able to find grip. So when you have good power and when you have no grip, what happens? Two things happen. One is when you are in the corners, you don't feel like you're in control. The car tries to slip away and it is always skidding. And when you exit the corner, when you put the power down, there is not enough grip. So when you put your foot down, the power does not necessarily translate into speed. See, I also went to the telemetries and I compared Max Verstappen's Q2 lap with Kimi Antonelli's Q2 lap, and what I realized is Max is losing time in sector 2 and he is not necessarily losing time in the long straights, the 130R and all of those second portions of the track where you are basically deploying battery. That is all fine. That is a straight line between Max and Kimi. Where he's losing time is in the corners where he's not able to put the power down. Another thing that I noticed is Max Verstappen was so uncomfortable in the car, so I did some digging myself. What I did was I manually tried to take the onboard lap of Max and then map the steering angle and compare it with other drivers and how their steering angle has been, and I actually found something very, very interesting. I also compared Max's steering angles from last year and compared it with other drivers from last year as well, just to know if this has always been Max's driving style or has something changed in 2026. So what I have found out clearly is Max at times is even going up to a 150 degree turn in the steering, whereas the rest of the drivers aren't turning the steering wheel that much. And I took 2 to 3 random tracks and compared Max's steering angles to other drivers as well. See, in most cases, we do not have such drastic steering turns in these races. Especially for Max, this is completely abnormal. So what does that mean? If you are turning the steering so much to get the car in the right position, it means you have a lot of understeer. See, understeer in an F1 car happens because of multiple reasons, but I have a sneaky suspicion that it is because of one particular problem, which is the weight distribution. If the car's weight distribution is too much to the rear, the front does not turn as much as you want it to. Every other reason for understeer, like camber or tire temperature and pressure, suspension stiffness, front wing angle, all of this can be adjusted. And usually these things keep getting adjusted through FP1, FP2 and FP3, so that by qualifying, you have narrowed down on a good setup for your car. But if there is a problem with weight distribution, that is not something you can fix over a weekend. I believe Red Bull's weight distribution is the problem, and this is something that needs factory help, not just the garage's help to fix. So I think after the break, there might be some good news for Red Bull, but clearly this was the reason I feel Max Verstappen had a horrible qualifying and he got out at P11. But the funny thing is, my boy Arvid Lindblad was the guy who kicked Max out of Q2, which is very poetic. Am I biased? Yes, I am a big Arvid Lindblad fanboy. Not just because I met him in person, or maybe that's clearly the reason, but yes, I was really happy Arvid got into Q3 because he had a great opening race at Australia, but then he was kind of nowhere in China, both in the sprint and in the main race. So I was wondering if it was a one race thing, but clearly Arvid did better than Lawson this week, and I'm hopeful for the race tomorrow. Now, moving on to Q3, yes, we have Kimi Antonelli who is locked in. So this is another weekend where he has done better than Russell. I know Russell finished P2, there was 0.3 second difference between Kimi and Russell. But what I also found out from Russell's interview was that there was some setup thing that they did in the rear suspension that was done just before qualifying that was a little too much, and Russell kind of completely lost control of his setting. And then because qualifying started and you're in park, for me, you can't change any rear suspension things. You can only change the front wing angles. So he kept playing with the front wing angle, and that's why he was playing catch up to Kimi through entire Q1, Q2 and Q3. And yes, Kimi finished ahead. I also found that Kimi's last lap wasn't the best one. It was the first lap in Q3 that was the best. Kimi made a mistake at turn 11, so there was a lot more left in that car. But yes, Mercedes domination is real, and Kimi now has 2 back-to-back poles. And what that also means is that tomorrow, if Kimi wins the race, he's going to lead the championship, and he will be the youngest ever championship leader. And he's the only teenager who is even close to leading a championship, by the way, because this record is held currently by Lewis Hamilton. He did it when he was 22 years old in 2007. So if Kimi wins tomorrow, or if Kimi leads the season, any of the next few races, he's going to break that record, and I really hope that it happens tomorrow. So looking forward to that. The other notable things in Q3, McLaren seem to have had a decent time in Q3. Not necessarily closer to the Mercedes, but definitely they are on the right track. They have split the Ferraris. Piastri is even ahead of Charles Leclerc. But Charles Leclerc also had a massive lap, but he kind of messed up towards the end. It is not the place where we all thought that he skid and he messed up. Actually, he gained some time over there. I think he had a lot of time lost in Sector 3. So he has to settle for P4. Charles clearly had an amazing lap. He was trying to get the best out of every corner, but clearly the battery deployment has gotten onto his nerves. He's been really pissed about it. We will see tomorrow what happens in the race. If Ferraris always looked better on a race day than on qualifying, so let's see. Also, I would like to take this moment to remind you of the great Benjamin Franklin's quote from 1789. In life, nothing is constant except death, taxes, 10-second penalty for Ocon, and Pierre Gasly P7. Gasly somehow has carried the Alpine into Q3 again for the third time this season, and he is at P7 for the third time this season. I think Pierre Gasly probably is the most underrated driver in the grid right now. He probably would be a huge championship contender if he was in any other team, but hey, we'll never know. But for now, Gasly is doing amazing in Alpine. So what can we look forward to in tomorrow's race? I think the first thing is Ferraris will have a great start. So they will lead the race for a bit and probably they will drop back and give the positions back to Mercedes again. I am hoping for a Kimi Antonelli win, just like China, where he will probably go ahead and build a gap, and Russell will probably have the second or the secondary strategy. And if there was a crash or any kinds of virtual safety car or a safety car, that might lead to the swapping of leads, but I don't see Russell fighting Kimi Antonelli too hard and overtaking. But if that happens, that will be amazing. I do think Lewis Hamilton will overtake both the McLarens. He might be on the podium P3 or he'll be in P4. Verstappen will have a bad start. He has been having bad starts, so I think he will drop down the order and he will fight and catch up. If Red Bull's reliability is to be trusted, I think he will probably finish somewhere between 6th and 10th. And I'm hoping for Arvid Lindblad to have a great race, hoping that he does some cool overtakes in the beginning of the race and then holds on to those positions. I'm hoping for Audi to be in double points as well. So let's see how the race goes. Tune in tomorrow. I will do a race analysis as well. If you liked what you heard through this video, please do subscribe and drop a like and share it with your friends. It means a lot. It gives me motivation to do more of these kind of longer videos. So if you liked it and enjoyed it, share it with a friend, subscribe and hit the like button. I'll see you tomorrow after the race.